All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
I am delighted that you made it. Welcome. It's a Thursday show. On the East Coast, we're live from 2 to 4. On the West Coast, how about it for my West Coasties? Come on. 11 to 1. And all around this great, beautiful earth, you are welcome in for 2 hours. That means that you can join the conversation on YouTube. You simply have a, how does it work, Albert? I have no idea.
Albert, thank you.
You can watch it live right now or whenever you want right after.
Yeah, but to contribute, meaning not money, but just to contribute thoughts, you can get onto YouTube and you have the chat is live for 2 hours is what I was trying to say. I guess you have to have a Gmail account. Is that how it works, Albert? I think that's...
Yeah, you have to have a YouTube account. And you can hit the comment section whenever you want. You can do that right now, but the live chat is where it's at during the show.
Baby, it's where it's
Albert,
at.
Thank you.
It's so where it's at. Kim,
how are you?
Is here as well. She's always hitting the live chat. Yeah, she's hitting it. She's banning people. She she has her own version of censorship going on, don't you, Kim? Yeah, you got your own.
Kim, how are you?
Yeah, you're your own little FCC commissioner, aren't you?
Yeah. I am.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
I blame you.
All right, let's get it on, everybody. We are obviously in the midst of a sea change in America. There's a tremendous amount going on. It's all of a kind, and it's alarming. I won't sugarcoat it for you. It's alarming. And so we'll get into the Kimmel stuff. We'll get into the censorship. We'll get into, as usual, the subplot, which you're not hearing a lot about, which may very much inform much of what happened with Jimmy Kimmel. But we will get to it. The subplot is very much in keeping with what we were seeing and what I predicted, and now you're seeing it happen. What did I tell you about TikTok? Said that Larry Ellison is going to get TikTok along with a small consortium of other tech bros, sort of the Billionaires Boys Club, and they, particularly in the form of Ellison, will create a massive media company, as Ellison wants Warner Brothers. He wants the entire package, which is includes CNN and this immense media empire. That's a big deal because there is a part of that sort of thing going on with the Jimmy Kimmel conversation and what happened to Jimmy. Now, I'll tell you, I adore Jimmy Kimmel. To me, Jimmy Kimmel is incredibly funny, incredibly inventive, incredibly smart about the ways he's gone after government generally. It wasn't just Trump. When Biden was president, he did great stuff with that. To me, Jimmy Kimmel is the genius of late night. And so I know there was a lot of Colbert, and I get that maybe this audience is super Colbert. It doesn't matter. It's not like it's the old thing. Like when people ask, do you like dogs or do you like cats? Well, why do I have to pick one or the other? Aren't they, both wonderful creatures that I enjoy sharing my home with? And I kind of feel that way about Colbert and Kimmel. But I must tell you, to me, Kimmel was appointment viewing. I never missed a Kimmel show, and that's been the way it's been for years. It's so I'm both angered about this and about the silencing of Jimmy, but I'm also very concerned about the broader issues for America and for American discourse and for public comments like the one that I'm making right now, and about all the ways in which you interact on social media. Your Facebook, your Twitter, etc. Obviously, this is something that has implications for all those things. So this is true. I'm seeing, Jimmy's my favorite of the late night shows, somebody says. Kimmel and Colbert kept my sanity through all of this. I watched Kimmel's show on Monday night. Didn't seem like he said anything controversial, says John Watson. So we made a decision. And here's the decision that we made. We could talk around and read quotes of what Jimmy said, and we could talk about what the FCC commissioner said, and we could read you quotes, and obviously I would try to bring that stuff to life to you as much as I could, because typically we cannot run things that are proprietary content like the late night stuff from ABC. We'd have this problem with Saturday Night Live, and then that's the reason it's very hard for us as YouTube creators to, share that stuff with you, because it'll immediately end up with us being demonetized. We will no longer be able to gain any income from that show. And of course, the revenues from the show are what sustain us. But today we're going to run it, and we're just not going to make any money on this show. And so thank you for the super chat. Hula Steph for $20. We will keep all the super chat money and super sticker money. That does stay with us, but any kind of monetization apart from that, we don't get. I can't believe how furious I am about Kimmel's firing, says Hula Steph. You go, MTS channel. Don't let Trump silence you. I mean, I must tell you, the government is a very powerful entity. The government can silence anyone they want. The Kimmel example is a great one because you see the ways in which the government leverages power. Jimmy Kimmel didn't get taken off the air for anything he said about Charlie Kirk. You know that, right? I'm going to show you the clip in a second. No. I'm not saying, you can be super sensitive about the Charlie Kirk thing. We have decried it here. It was a murderous, horrible act. And Charlie Kirk deserves to be alive. But they didn't silence Jimmy Kimmel for anything he said about Charlie Kirk. They silenced him because he made fun of the president. That's why he was silenced. It's that simple. He has been an irritant to Donald Trump for years. And to call it just an irritant is to be polite. Mm-hmm. Kimmel has been in the crosshairs for the administration for years. So the standards by which so much speech is permitted in America don't apply to someone who is that big a target for this president and this regime. Albert, show everyone, and we'll just let it run, as I say. This is what Jimmy Kimmel said. We'll let it run. I'm going to let it breathe so you can really get a sense of it in context. Go ahead.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks. They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. Okay. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. It's demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay? And it didn't just happen once.
When I heard it, I was in the midst of, building a great, for 150 years, they've wanted a ballroom at the White House, right? They don't have a ballroom. They have to use tents on the lawn for President Xi when he comes over. If it rains, it's a wipeout. And so I was with the architects that would design. It's going to be incredible. And they came in, they said, Charlie Kirk is dead. I didn't know what they meant. I said, he was dead. Charlie Kirk was shot. And they thought he was dead because it was so horrific, And I said, dead.
And then we installed the most beautiful chandelier. Sconces, you wouldn't believe. There's something wrong with them. There really is. I mean,
and
little
so
things
you
like
then
that.
in that moment, you hear the real object of derision there is the president's reaction. Offered a platform, the president pivoted quickly to the construction, and that became the joke. You know, the fourth stage of grief, construction.
He never made fun of Charlie Kirk's death. He made fun of the president's reaction to it. As a matter of fact, last week on his show, Kimmel said that Kirk's murder was senseless. The day of Kirk's murder, he posted a message on Instagram sending love to Kirk's family and all victims of gun violence. So when you talk about people that, you know, did the dances and the celebration, that's not what Kimmel did at all. He made fun of Trump's reaction, not anything having to do with senseless political violence. He decried that.
Thank you, because that's exactly right. Kimmel has so much heart. I don't know if you've watched Kimmel through the years, any of you, but the reality is that Kimmel has been an articulate and passionate spokesperson for the lack of health care in this country for those who don't have money. When his son needed heart surgery, he became emotional, choked up, wept on the air about the fact that, of course, he'd just been through this incredibly emotional operation for his newborn son, for his very young son. And he said, we have the means to help our son, but there's so many in the same situation that don't have those means. That's who Jimmy Kimmel is. He's someone with tremendous emotion, heart, and empathy. And so he's a late night comic. Of course, he skewers power. Skewering the powerful is a rich tradition in late night comedy. Kimmel is just the latest iteration of it. And in my judgment, the most creative iteration of it. He's so funny, so inventive. Most of the stuff he does on the show has nothing to do with Trump. But he is out there on the limb, which is what makes the comedy so funny. It's daring, but it's certainly covered by free speech rights. It's certainly covered by the First Amendment. You can go all the way back to Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson used to skewer everybody, all the presidents, during his time in late night television. I mean, as I say, it's a time-honored tradition. So this is outrageous, and we will pull away the layers of the onion, to use the oft-used expression, but we'll pull away, I think, a lot of the backstory here. But the key thing when it comes to Kimmel is that Jimmy Kimmel hasn't been censored by this regime for the comments about Charlie Kirk. He is censored because of his comments about Donald Trump. The jokes about Trump really got to him. You know, Trump responded the same way to Saturday Night Live, really angry, running down Saturday Night Live. It was during the first Trump administration. And bad ratings, show's not funny anymore. People say the show's not funny anymore because, remember, Alec Baldwin was doing the Donald Trump impression. So this stuff does get to Donald Trump. And Jimmy's stuff is funny, really funny. And as a result, Donald Trump, who's the butt of the joke, can't take it. We know he's thin-skinned. So I want to quickly recognize some people who are into the super chat, because you guys are supporting us today, since this is a show that'll be demonetized because of the running of that clip. But a Trevor star in Hollywood says, breaking fake news, Trump's statement. First it was Stanley Colbert, now it's Johnny Kimmel. Many people are saying squeaky voice Mark Thompson will be next. He's got great hair, but he's got to go. He's got to go, says Donald J. Trump. Well, I'll tell you, I mean, thanks for the super chat. I'd be lying to you if I didn't tell you I'm worried about this channel and all channels that represent anything. And again, a lot of the stuff we do doesn't have anything to do with Donald Trump, but you worry about anything that you said that in any way arouses the ire or shows up on the radar of the most powerful. Gwen Roberts, thank you for a $10 super chat. Yeah.
Suddenly I have this, I feel like I've just been living in this naive bubble all this time, thinking that we had a constitution and a right to free speech, and this could never happen here. Never.
Let me explain a little bit of how it happened, because I think the how is truly instructive, because this isn't over. We just played for you the clip in question. You could see Charlie Kirk wasn't in any way derided. He was in no way criticized. And as Kim says, Kimmel's actually quite sympathetic and empathetic, sending those messages of grief to the Charlie Kirk family. This is last week, or this is the week prior to this show even. So he was a part of the mourning for Charlie Kirk, if you will, or recognizing the true tragedy of the murder of Charlie Kirk. That's what Jimmy Kimmel was doing. But when it came to the reaction, the Trump reaction was so odd that it just invited being skewered. And that's what Jimmy did. But now to the cancellation, now to the censoring of Jimmy Kimmel. The FCC commissioner goes on Benny Johnson's podcast, and the FCC commissioner, someone who has been oddly a champion of First Amendment free speech rights in America prior to all of this. He himself, I think, a podcaster. You know, the Trump administration has all these people who were podcasters before this, right? So he's no stranger to this format. And here he is joining Benny Johnson, who's a right-wing host, on his podcast talking about what we've just seen. Go ahead, Albert.
When you look at the conduct that has taken place by Jimmy Kimmel, it appears to be some of the sickest conduct possible. As you've indicated, there are avenues here for the FCC. So there are some ways in which I need to be a little bit careful, because we could be called ultimately to be a judge on some of these claims that come up. But I don't think this is an isolated incident. I mean, you go back to Representative Swalwell, and he had a tweet out last week where he was saying that, emphasizing that Charlie Kirk's killer was a straight white male from a Republican family that voted for Donald Trump. In some quarters, there's a very concerted effort to try to lie to the American people about the nature, as you indicated, of one of the most significant, newsworthy public interest acts that we've seen in a long time.
Stop for a second, Albert, and I'll continue here in a second. There was, to be fair, an effort from both sides early, right away, because this is the new America, to say that guy was a lefty. Remember, President Trump, within an hour, we had no idea of this guy's history, the guy who murdered Charlie Kirk. Like, President Trump, within an hour, had the word out. It's the radical left. That's the problem. Political violence, the radical left. And then you had the left saying, look, he's from a MAGA family. You can tell he's MAGA. He's right wing. So both sides were trying to build their narrative to serve political ends. That is true. As I say, that's the new America. As it turns out, probably both were true. He's from a MAGA family, but angry about, and again, it's still all being pieced together, angry about the posture toward trans rights, to the LGBTQ plus community. Oddly, this kid from a MAGA family grew up around guns, had access to guns. He then, from now a left perspective, again, politically left, offended by the president's and this government's view toward the community that he now felt closely aligned with, he murdered Charlie Kirk. So in the early moments It was, is it right? Is it left? Both trying to claim he's a lefty, he's a radical, of course, it's MAGA. It's somebody who's even farther right than MAGA. So that was what the FCC commissioner is talking about. Get back to him. Go back to Carr.
Appears to be an action by Jimmy Kimmel to play into that narrative that this was somehow a MAGA or Republican motivated person. If that's what happened here.
Stop again. Sorry, again. And what I just played it for you. No, Kimmel said that MAGA is trying to blame the left. They're trying to blame the left for this. They don't want to claim this guy in any way. That was what he said. Again, that was in the hours, days of the beginnings of the investigation. Both sides were doing this. It's probably wrong to do, right? It was wrong for either side to claim it. But Jimmy's not wrong. I mean, MAGA was saying it's a lefty, right? They're trying to claim one thing, and the left is saying it's a MAGA guy. Look, it's family. So that's what was happening there. So when he's talking about it in this way, it really denies a legitimate context to the conversation. Okay.
That is really, really sick. And I've been very clear from the moment that I have become chairman of the FCC. I want to reinvigorate the public interest. And what people don't understand is that the broadcasters, and you've gotten this right, are entirely different than people that use other forms of communication. They have a license granted by us at the FCC, and that comes with it an obligation to operate in the public interest. And we can get into some ways that we've been trying to reinvigorate the public interest and some changes that we've seen. But frankly, when you see stuff like this, I mean, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. These companies can find ways to change conduct, to take action, frankly, on Kimmel, or, there's going to be additional work for the FCC ahead.
What kind of action would you
huge.
see?
And then we're going to continue with it. But this is huge what he just said. It's going.
We can do it the easy way or the hard way.
We can do it the easy way or the hard way. Now, again, you're always, as a private company or a public company in the case of Disney, but you know what I mean, as a company not run by the government, you're able to make any decisions you want about who's on your air, about the kind of shows that are on your air. You can run all LGBTQ plus shows if you want. You can run all right-wing, cis white male shows if you want. I mean, it really is up to what they feel is commercially viable or on brand for them. So when he talks about, conduct, this is a commercial enterprise. The public airwaves there's certain responsibilities. That's why the FCC has control over them. But apart from that, it's really up to the creators there at Disney to put on whatever show they feel is, as I say, commercially viable. Now you're going to see it pivot. When he talks about we can do this the easy way or the hard way, what he's suggesting is the government may now get involved in content, in what you're doing and who the personality is that you're putting on the air. But the way that he suggests, and what you're going to see now, is the way he lays out what the FCC will likely do, or what could be done by a station group, which is exactly what happened. Sinclair and the Nexstar stations, they own tons of stations in America. He's suggesting they could take action against the network and decide not to run Jimmy Kimmel anymore. So this is the FCC chairman saying this stuff. Go ahead, Albert.
To have an on-air apology from Jimmy Kimmel to the Kirk family, to all of those who he slandered, because he did say that Charlie Kirk, he is effectively saying that our movement did this. Our movement killed Charlie, that Charlie was deserving of this.
Never said
effectively.
That.
And we've seen
effectively. I don't even
rear
know
its
what that
head.
means.
This
It's
happens
total BS.
quite regularly, actually, on MSNBC and on other networks where they're trying to victim blame. And what that does, Mr. Chairman, respectfully, is continues the lie and continues the threat level to say effectively that we have no share in this problem at all on the left. This is a clear-cut case.
Concoction
what would you like
based
to see
on
done at
nothing,
ABC?
what Benny Johnson's saying.
Well, look, I think what you said there strikes me as a very reasonable, minimal step that can be taken. I mean, obviously, look, there's calls for Kimmel to be fired. I think, you could certainly see a path forward for suspension over this. And again, the FCC is going to have remedies that we could look at. And again, we may ultimately be called to be a judge on that. But this also strikes me as sort of conduct that to some extent it shows some sort of desperate irrelevance. I mean, we're sort of exiting an era where the three main legacy broadcast networks could control and dictate the narrative to the American people. And one of the things that President Trump did when he ran for office, he ran directly at that legacy media establishment. And he smashed the facade that they get to control what we say, what we think, the narrative around events. And we're seeing a lot of consequences that are flowing from President Trump doing that. I mean, look, NPR has been defunded. PBS has been defunded. Colbert is retiring. Joy Reid is out at MSNBC. Terry Moran has gone from ABC and now admitting that they are biased. CBS has now made some commitments to us that they're going to return to more fact-based journalism. And so I think you see some lashing out from people like Kimmel, who are frankly talentless and are looking for ways to get attention. But their grip on the narrative is slipping. That doesn't mean that it's still not important to hold in the public interest standard. That's what we're going to have to do.
So stop if you would, Albert. I mean, he gets into it, I think, a little bit further down. He talks about the fact that what could happen here is the next star in Sinclair stations could stop running Jimmy Kimmel. And what happened indeed was the Sinclair stations took their cue from the FCC commissioner, it would appear anyway. And they said, we are going to drop Kimmel. We're not going to run him now. Now, Sinclair is, again, powerful group. We've talked about this on the show many times. The real power for years now has been with the station groups. So Nexstar, Sinclair, these are right-wing groups right-wing companies, I guess I should put it that way, that have groups of television stations across the country. And so on some level, even as they are, running ABC programming, they have underpinning them a certain political philosophy. So taking their cues from an increasingly robust effort to erase anything that they find in the least bit offensive, including making fun of the president, they take action. And in this case, the FCC commissioner, to whom you were listening, he laid it out. He said the Sinclair stations could drop this. He also, he'll throw in stuff like, talentless guy. I mean, you realize that these are all people who aren't objectively demonstrating professionalism per se. They share a very extreme view of things. And it's not a view that protects speech that they don't like. It's a view that reinforces and permits speech that they do like and gets rid of that which they don't like.
Speaking of
Sinclair
really
stations did drop it. Yeah.
I was really struck when he went through the list of all the people they've silenced. I didn't realize it had been that many. When he's like, oh, it's Terry Moran and it's this guy and it's that guy. And it's like, wow, all of these people. And for what reason?
So Sinclair Broadcasting saying the suspension of Jimmy Kimmel was insufficient. They're going to yank Jimmy Kimmel Live from their stations until Jimmy Kimmel apologizes directly to Charlie Kirk's family and donates to his political activist group.
Can I just put this up here? This is what Jimmy Kimmel posted the day of the killing. Instead of the angry finger pointing, he wrote, "Can we just for one day agree that it is horrible and monstrous to shoot another human? On behalf of my family, we send love to the Kirks and to all the children, parents, and innocents who fall victim to senseless gun violence. What is there to apologize for?"
I think Kimmel is doing his job as a late night host. He's making fun of the party in power. He did it with the Democrats too. Made fun of Biden. I mean, I think that Jimmy is not a fan of Trump. That's clear. He goes after Trump a lot, and he does it in funny ways. But Trump goes after everybody. Calls people ugly, calls people unprofessional, calls people weak, calls people losers. So it's just kind of extraordinary. But as I say, it wasn't for the Charlie Kirk comments that Jimmy Kimmel was silenced. It was for the comments about Donald Trump. So they have 40 stations. I mean, that's not nothing. 40 ABC local TV affiliates. It's the largest station group, Sinclair. And they say that the Kimmel comments were inappropriate. So they say they're not going to return Kimmel's show until formal discussions are held with ABC regarding the network's commitment to professionalism and accountability. Exactly, you know. And they praise, I mean, I think it was the CEO who praised him, the vice chairman of Sinclair, praising Brendan Carr, that's the FCC chairman, and said the incident highlights the critical need for the FCC to take immediate regulatory action to address control held over local broadcasters by the big networks. ABC announcing again that production of Jimmy Kimmel's late night program has been suspended indefinitely. And the demands of Sinclair are extraordinary. They operate, Sinclair does, 178 television stations in 81 markets. And they say that their ABC affiliates, I think there are 40 of them, isn't that what I said before, will air a special in remembrance of Kirk during Kimmel's Friday time slot. So that's the reaction from Sinclair. And the Nexstar stations are also a big part of this. Again, the network television business depends on all of those stations distributing what the network is giving them. So the stations have a lot of power, and the networks have power as well, but it's a very difficult spot that the network finds itself in when so many affiliates say, hey, we're just not going to run that anymore. I mean, that's ad revenue, that's, you can imagine. So when Nexstar and Sinclair together say, we're not going to run ABC's late night offering, that essentially is a fait accompli. I mean, it's done. Nexstar's owned and partner television stations affiliated with the ABC television network will preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live for the foreseeable future, they said. Nexstar strongly objects to recent comments made by Mr. Kimmel concerning the killing of Charlie Kirk, will replace the show with other programming in its ABC markets. Nexstar is the largest station group in the country, also has a major merger, and this is the second part of this story that you must know. Nexstar, the largest station group in the country, has a major merger before the Trump administration. Its proposed acquisition of Tegna, creating a mega company with 265 stations in 44 states and the Washington, D.C. area, representing 80% of U.S. households. Nexstar is also a leading champion in the broadcast industry for the FCC to relax media ownership limits. There are limits, and they're not what they used to be. I mean, there used to be really strong limits on how many stations you could own, but now those limits have been relaxed. But Nexstar wants them released even more. They want them relaxed to the point that, well, that they can acquire all of these other stations in another station group. So to get this deal through, to get regulatory approval, they have to play ball with the FCC. They have to curry favor with the existing administration. You saw it happen with Paramount, with CBS, with the cancellation of Colbert. This is the exact same thing. So when all of this talk about Charlie Kirk is going on, there is a subplot here that's powerful, and it's that we need FCC approval to get this mighty merger through. And they are going to air a tribute to Charlie Kirk on the ABC stations that they control, Nexstar, on Friday night. And as I say, both Sinclair and Nexstar have been lobbying the FCC over regulatory issues. And the idea somehow that you would take on the FCC at a time when you're trying to get cooperation from the FCC, it's not even in the conversation. They have to play ball with Brendan Carr.
You would think, though, that, and I know they say follow the money, right? In this case, what you're talking about, but that Jimmy Kimmel would be something, if you're trying to sell a station or if you're trying to attract someone to a station, he's the shining star of that network.
Yes, that's true. But when the broader network is part of a huge conglomerate, which is sort of what's happening, when you have all those stations put together, I guess that makes up something of a broadcast conglomerate.
Right.
You have bottom line concerns that can be completely derailed by the existing government. And so for that reason, you got to play ball with the government. Now, again, prior administrations may not have been as withering in their demands as this administration is. But the point is, you need to play ball. So when you talk about Kimmel as a personality, as a, let's just say, as a valuable asset, you're right. But if you look at the broader interest for other assets they're trying to acquire, for them, it's easier to play ball with the government. But the other thing I would just say is, and it happens to also be the way they think. They are a conservative media group. Yeah. So somebody who's like Jimmy Kimmel, who's probably considered a lib, they are all too anxious to play ball with the government in this case. But you're right. They have to balance that against commercial concerns they might have. So I'll just remind you also that the Walt Disney Company's involved in this. Okay, I just talked to you about Sinclair and Nexstar. Those are the two big station groups, but Walt Disney controls the network, right? And they need Trump administration green light for what? They need a green light from the Trump administration for ESPN's deal to buy the NFL network.
Oh, man.
So there are so many interests here that require government approval. And so for that reason, when the government makes a demand on you, you decide you're going to play ball. They do all the math. And for them, it's worth it. But that's the backstory on Jimmy Kimmel and his cancellation. Trump wants him canceled because he doesn't want to have Kimmel making fun of him every night on late night television. And Kimmel is popular, as Kim was saying. Mm-hmm. But the reason that these different entities all are okay with the cancellation and are even out in front on the cancellation is because they want government approval on any number of things. The Sinclair, the Nexstar, acquisitions, Disney's, acquisition of NFL Network, along with ESPN. And you see how it is really all about the money. But what's really, but the real casualty here, let's not lose it, is free speech.
Yeah.
The casualty is free speech. So what they're basically saying is, yeah, we're ready to torch the First Amendment because we need this other stuff for our bottom line. And you understand it from a stockholder standpoint, and that, you know, there's a fiduciary responsibility to not anger the government in power if you need these things to help your bottom line. But the overwhelming fact is that the government is snuffing out free speech. It's, you know, take everything we've talked about with the money, the subplot, all of it. Even with the Trump being angry about, you know, being derided by Jimmy Kimmel every night and having fun made of him every night. Put it all to the side. Just talk about free speech in America. You know, there is in America a rich tradition of critical speech. That's how Charlie Kirk could flourish. Charlie Kirk is brilliance, bringing all of that to college campuses, inviting those with opposing views. I mean, this really is a scary place that we're in. I mean, it's just one of the scary things that's happening, but it's a significant one.
It feels like the beginning of like a dictatorship. Like all the moves that have been made, it feels like they're trying to control what we have to know, and that's in line with all the dictators in history. Actually, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly right. What Albert's saying. And that Albert is paying attention to the show at all. It's just amazing.
It's great.
I mean,
Albert, thank you.
I just am really.
Well, my
you
country-
know it's serious when Albert
my
is paying
country in
attention.
the Philippines have gone through the same thing in prior in history in the 80s, and I feel like it's coming back now, even in our country. So,
yeah,
very scary.
It's scary. That's a little bit of what's going on. We'll talk to David Katz, the former federal prosecutor, the legal side of this. And there are other legal issues, obviously. Supreme Court is being asked by Donald Trump to do a number of things. We'll get to those. I want to give a quick shout out to those who are helping us today because because of the clips we've run, going to be demonetized, as I was mentioning. So many in the audience are stepping up in such big ways. Wow, Shelley Pollard. We get to keep all the super sticker and super chat money. So you guys really are making up the gap that we would normally get from, ads and that sort of thing on YouTube. Big shout out to Shelley Pollard. Wow, $100 into the super chat. And Shelley, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And I would even say,
thank you.
That's the 4 thank yous. We rarely dust them off, but thank you. I'll give you the
thank you.
Beth Farmer got you all covered today. Keep speaking truth, Mark. Thank you, Beth, and I'll give you the 4 thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, Beth, really cool. Beth, a longtime viewer and supporter of the show. Jane McCann pulling over just to make this donation that I hear you will be able to keep in respect for what you are saying about Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, we will be able to keep it. And thank you so much, Jane, for helping to support the show today. It's definitely one of those days where it's an inflection moment. And I give you, Jane, the 4 thank yous.
Thank you.
It is 4, right? I've never really counted it.
Thank you. I think you're right.
Wes Theory, an OG with a $6 super chat says, still on Facebook break. Just canceled Hulu and Disney app. Only way to express my disappointment in them. There are a lot of people who are canceling Disney Plus. It's kind of wild because that's right. Disney Plus is a lot of different platforms. Hulu, what else is on Disney Plus? A bunch of different.
ESPN's on there. And,
So that's a big. That's a big cancellation. Lucy McAllister, my favorite McAllister. Thank you for being my rock through these difficult times. Wow.
Big shout out.
A big shout out, Lucy. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your support and appreciate the contribution to the show. Really. Cousin Erie with a $6 super chat. It will be a miracle if Colbert makes it to June. It is weird that Colbert was first targeted to be rubbed out, right? They were getting rid of Colbert. And then Jimmy seemed like the only guy who was still cruising. And then quite suddenly, this happens where Kimmel is out and Colbert continues, even though he's on borrowed time. Kathleen Bryant with a $20 super sticker. Big shout out. Kathleen Bryant, thank you. You're a regular on the show. We so appreciate you. And
thank you so much.
Yes. It really does matter, guys. Thank you so much because we are we're really appreciative today of your support since we wanted to give you context on that clip, and that's why we played you so much of it, but sadly it does lead to our demonetization. Rhonda Abrams, come on, Rhonda, big shout out. Go for it. Say your piece. I'll chip in, she says. Right on. Thank you, Rhonda. Yeah. And Jim Slayton with a $10 super chat says, I also canceled my Paramount Plus and that's, of course, the Paramount Plus stuff is related to the Colbert cancellation. Mm-hmm. And I gave the monthly payment to the Mark Thompson show when Colbert got canceled.
What?
I love it. Big shout out and thank you, Jim. Yeah. Jim, another OG of the show. How long before Trump clamps down on any show that offends his poor sensibilities? F Trump, F his ballroom. Harry Magnan says. Thank you, Harry, for the $5 super chat. The clamping down on broader speech is something that we're concerned with. I mean, Albert identified it, and we've been talking about it really, and it's been an implicit threat for a long time, ever since we saw, well, I mean, it goes to the earliest parts of this administration, but you saw the clip the other day where he said, we may investigate you, Jonathan Karl, because you haven't been very nice to me. I mean, it was an extraordinary thing to hear a president say. We ran the clip here on the show. Yeah. Nullifidian says, you're one of the few voices of sanity that we have left, Mark. Well, thank you for that, Nullifidian. I'll give you a big shout out.
Big shout out.
Pamela Kirby, thanks, Mark. Kim Albert, taking risk for the First Amendment. I appreciate that. A $20 super chat. Wow. Thank you, Pamela.
Big shout
really
out.
Appreciate that. And Nancy Boyd with a $20 super.
Thank you so much.
Nancy with an I. I love
Big
that.
shout out.
SJ Lola. San Jose. I always assume it's San Jose Lola, right?
Yeah.
$25. Happy to be able to support this show. Thank you. Big shout
Big
out
shout
to
out.
San Jose Lola. And thank
All
you.
the people that want free speech. Look at that. I mean,
Yeah. Humor is art. What happens to American art at this time of suppression? Yeah. Thank you. That's so true. John Doe, or John Doe, is that it? John Doe, thank you for the $5 super chat. Of course, you're right. I mean, this is the arts.
Yeah.
So you're very correct about the fact that, you know, shutting down an artist is shutting down speech. Amy B with a $10 super chat says they are using these opportunities as an excuse. MSNBC did the same thing with Matt Dowd and the Wall Street Journal with Karen Attia. And look behind the curtain. This is all about a corporate merger for oligarchs. Well, this is a truly jetliner view of things. What's really happening is what Amy is talking about. And that relates to, and I don't want to get in too deep with this today, but we will in the days ahead. But there really is a huge oligarchical component to this. You're seeing these mergers. I just mentioned the Sinclair Nexstar, then the merger that Nexstar wants with this other immense television station group. You're seeing major acquisitions through the tech billionaires who accompanied Trump on his trip to Great Britain. I mean, why did you bring all these tech billionaires? And there's a deal being made so that American tech billionaires are now going to have a big piece of a lot of the deal that's being made with Great Britain. So there are ways in which there are so many in the community of oligarchs who we occasionally get a look at together. For example, if there is the dinner with the tech bros, or there is any number of public events at which you see sort of in the orbit of the president, all of these people who have control of so much. I include people in the administration. I mean, Witkoff himself is something of an oligarch, right? He's a huge real estate empire builder, and he now handles all of the diplomacy for Middle East, for Europe, NATO, etc. And Witkoff is at the center of a lot of this too. So I think you're right to point to the oligarchs and the fact that it's really going to be open season on the plundering of so many resources and so many economic opportunities. Jim Slayton with a $10 super chat. I also deleted all my social media accounts to leave no footprints for the regime to go after me. My accounts are in suspended animation until the First Amendment returns.
a lot of people are
doing that.
scared. Yeah. Or
A lot of
going
people are
back
doing
and
that.
deleting posts that they've made as if we should have to clean up our free speech. And yet people are frightened.
It's super un-American. It's super un-American. We shouldn't have to. Now, you know, speaking of that, thank you, Jim Eaton. Love the Mark Thompson Show. Love you back, Jim. Big shout out. Thank you, sir. Ms. Organic with a $10 super sticker. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Love Ms. Organic. Yeah. And Richard Delamater, who is the Hunter S. Thompson of the show, loves his various mind-altering substances. Let us eat cake. Yeah, it does feel that way, doesn't it? Thank you for the $2 super chat. The orange curtain has fallen, says Rev P with a $5 super chat. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's scary. This one's for Jimmy. Quill Classic says with a $20 super chat. Thank you, Quill.
Big shout out.
Yeah, big shout out to you. Thank you, everybody, for all the support. Candace Worthman, who's an OG of the show, a $50 super sticker.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I'll give you the full.
Thank you.
Candace. Wow. Very cool. Cranky Charcoal, $9.99, 10 euros. Well, thank you, Cranky. I was going to send the chat to I was going to send chat to celebrate a certain person's exit from the UK. Wow. Also, hope this helps with the demonetization. Thank you with the 10 euros and the 10.
Big shout out.
I think those are actually 10 British sterling, right?
Yeah, he's over in the UK. Yeah.
10 pounds, is that what it is? Yeah, that's where we're going with it. Well, I should give you the thank you session.
Thank you
So much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you from one Brit to another. Demonetized tip jar, says Sal the Shoemaker. Thank you.
Big shout out.
Thank you for the
Sal
10
the
spot.
Shoemaker.
Yeah.
Do we have that old drum?
Yeah, where is
the
Sal the Shoemaker? We had
Joey Two Eyes. Like, what else is there?
Let me see if I can find
Little
it
Tony.
real quick. Yeah.
That's so good.
Oh my God.
Oh, you guys, I'm overwhelmed by all the support today, but that's awesome. Sal the Shoemaker. Tony, is it Tony Box? What is it?
Yeah, no, Joe Box.
Joe Box, that's right.
Joe. Oh.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
And Sal the Shoemaker was
Joe Fish, Sal the Shoemaker,
Yeah.
Joe Box and Little Anthony.
That's it, right? There they are. There all they are. Keep up the good work, Mark and Kim, all your excellent crew and guests. Vivian L. Shawa, she's an OG of the show. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Yeah.
Joe Fish, Sal the Shoemaker, Joe Box and Little Anthony.
Yeah, big shout out. Big shout out to Vivian. Thank you, Viv. The Mark 51627 with an $8.10 super chat, kind of a tip of the hat to our old radio station KGO, which was 810. Y'all, thank you.
Big shout out.
Wow. Jacqueline Buckley. Wow, it's feeling like a telethon around here.
I know.
I need a quick cup of a little sip of Coachella Valley coffee.
This is all the people that want to hear the voices of dissent. That's what this is.
Yeah. Jacqueline Buckley, how about a $10 super chat? Wow, super sticker, I should say. Thank you very much. Didn't even bother with the chat. Just here's the money, go do it.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jacqueline Buckley. Very cool. Really appreciate it. The Tash with a $5
Big
super
shout
sticker.
out.
Yeah, big shout out. Cousin Erie, the bottom line is satirical and alternative speech will have to find alternative routes. Yeah. I mean, this is a serious time in this country where a fundamental freedom is being snatched away from us. It's scary. I'm not going to lie to you. Dell and Bob with a $50 super sticker. Wow. I'm going to give him the...
Thank you.
The 4 thank yous. Thank you, Dell and Bob. Really do appreciate that. And a Carrie with a $20 super sticker. Wow.
Big
Thank you,
shout
guys. Really appreciate it. Mark and Kim, you inform us, often depress us. We appreciate you incredibly, says Karen Cooper. Wow, she's an OG
Karen.
also. Thank you.
Yeah.
$50 super chat.
Thank you.
Really, really cool. Thank you so much. And here's to free speech, says Denise I with a $25 donation to the show with a $25 super chat. Wow.
That's
Terrific.
A toast.
Thank you,
I feel
guys.
like we should be, cheersing to that on the day of its demise.
Yeah, it's a weird thing that, right, but she's right. I mean, and just on this, and I'm going to get to gone fishing in a minute. I'll just, what is that? Is that what is gone fishing saying, Kim? You're good with the,
It says Mahal Kita, but what does it mean, Albert? Do we know?
That is Tagalog for "I love you." So.
Oh, I love it! Come on.
Mahal
Thank you so
Kita to
much.
you. That's
Gone
so nice.
fishing. Mahal Kita, is that how you say it, Albert?
Yeah, Mahal Kita. Very good.
Mahal Kita. Wow.
What kind of a cool show is this that we have our own translator right here?
We're so sophisticated. I really like it.
Really, it's true.
Thank you, Gone Fishing. I wanted to just show you. Hold on a second before you, Lala. I wanted to, Albert, show them though the Brendan Carr tweet. That was the amazing thing. This guy, Brendan Carr, he's head of the FCC. He's the guy who championed the cancellation of Jimmy Kimmel. He laid out the way in which Kimmel could be canceled by the Sinclair stations, saying that they would no longer carry Jimmy Kimmel. Brendan Carr had this to say when President Biden was president. President Biden is right. Political satire is one of the oldest and most important forms of free speech. It challenges those in power while using humor to draw more people into the discussion. That's why people in influential positions have always targeted it for censorship. That's Brendan Carr saying that, the very guy who was the prime mover behind the censoring of Jimmy Kimmel. It's crazy. It really is crazy. It speaks to how absurd this situation is. I mean, you may not think Jimmy Kimmel's funny. You may not like the humor. You may be offended by it because you like Donald Trump. And if you're Donald Trump, you may be really angered by it because you are Donald Trump. But his right to go on and do it cannot be assailed. It cannot be removed.
Yeah.
And yet it has been. I'll do a few more acknowledgments, Albert, and then I wanted to get a couple of quick headlines before we go to David Katz. Lala with a $20 super sticker. Wow.
Big shout out.
Thank you, Lala. Love it. Love it. Trevor Maxon, how about a $20 super chat? Keep up the good work, Mark. You keep me sane during these chaotic times. Wow. Thank you, man. That's really cool.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Trevor. Appreciate that. Mark Robinson, wow, are you kidding me? Here's to free speech. $100 super chat. I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. I am gonna cry today. This is I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry. Yeah, wow. Candace Mick with a $20 super sticker. A super chat, I should say. She's an OG, Candace Mick. She won Mark's Madness one year. Every time Trump opens his mouth, I cringe. Being able to laugh calms me. These are scary times.
Thank you so much.
But thank you for the contribution, Candace, and we always remember you as a winner. To Mark's courage and free speech. Wow. Boy, it scares me the more they talk about how courageous I'm being.
Yeah. You're next, pal.
Vicky in Sausalito, you are an OG of this show. Vicky in Sausalito is here almost every day. I am not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. But $100, thank you for that. Big shout out to you. Thank you. Ren0287 with a $20 super chat. Ren and Cameo want to thank the Mark Thompson Show for being here for us. Oh, that's sweet. Thank you, Ren. Big shout out. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
$20 super sticker super chat, I should say, from Tiff MLA. Been listening to you guys since the KGO days. Love you guys and thanks for all you do. Thank you very much for the $20 super chat.
Big shout out.
Tom Dusenberry, who's the keeper of the ding. Wow, he is the keeper. And look at this, $100. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. It's a $100 super sticker. Wow. I am very...
Thank you.
The four thank yous, and I'm so humbled by that. I really am. I have said it, and I will say it again. To Trump, you can't handle the truth. Yeah. Thank you, Chaplain Fred, who has ascended in the world of those who are a big part of the contribution world. I'm talking about just in the chat every day. They contribute chat thoughts. And Chaplain Fred, always with the support there. Thank you for the $20 super chat.
Thank you so much.
I'll chip in too, says Angela Silva with a $20 super chat. This is where I get my news every day. Love you guys. Wow. Thank you so much.
Big shout out.
Big shout out. And in keeping with that suggestion, I want to get to some news. Can you give me a little run around the news before I get to David Katz, the former federal prosecutor? I'll tell you, we've been obviously concentrating on this Jimmy Kimmel thing and the various puzzle pieces that come together to produce this moment. There was other stuff going on, and I'll get to it a little bit later. For example, the ousted head of the CDC was speaking in a Senate hearing yesterday, and if you want chilling, it's chilling. And I'll share with you the testimony, a piece of it, a little bit later. I want to get some Kim news, and then I want to get into David Katz and a little bit of the legal challenges. And by the way, David Katz is very strong on predictions, very strong on legal predictions. He's a former federal prosecutor, served distinguished service under the Reagan administration, I believe. And he and I disagree about something. I have a different prediction about what the Supreme Court will rule than does David Katz. But he's the one with all the legal background. I'm just the one who kind of knows, I feel like I know the texture of humanity at this moment. So we'll offer, I think, differing perspectives when that conversation starts. I will also get back to recognizing so many of you who have seen this show and this particular episode as so critical to the national conversation. And for that reason, I wanted to do certain things on the show, which we have done, which, of course, take us out of any kind of monetization today. And you guys have more than made up for the kind of hit we're going to take on this show. But I wanted you to see everything in context. And that's why we did what we did in the first hour. Kim's News. Smash the like button if you would. That helps us in the world of YouTube. Hit it hard.
with your iron rod.
Smash it with your iron rod, baby. Do it like a boss.
Smash it with your iron rod.
Kim's News, and then we continue with David Katz and more. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. This report sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com and clearly by you today as well. President Trump says Jimmy Kimmel was taken off the air because of bad ratings. ABC suspending the late-night talk show host indefinitely after he made a comment about the accused killer of Charlie Kirk. Now, he made a comment about the reaction to Kirk's death by President Trump. The announcement came after Nexstar Media Group, a major operator of ABC-affiliated stations, said in a statement it strongly objects to the comment and will replace the show with other programming in its ABC-affiliated markets. Meanwhile, protesters are gathering today outside the El Capitan Theater in Hollywood, where Jimmy Kimmel Live was recorded. The protest comes a day after he was indefinitely suspended. The protest, organized by a group called RefuseFascism.org, they're calling for Kimmel to be reinstated immediately. The group also plans to march on Washington, D.C. in November to call for Trump to step down. I don't see that happening, do you? I don't know. Meanwhile, military leaders consider recruiting campaigns centered around Charlie Kirk. Possible slogans include, "Charlie has awakened a generation of warriors." There's talk of using Turning Point USA chapters as military recruitment centers in America. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro is suggesting that some people want to cherry pick which instances of political violence they condemn. Democratic governor's comments follow the fatal shooting of Charlie Kirk in Utah last week. During a recent summit, Shapiro told attendees, "During moments like this," he said, "I believe we have a responsibility to be clear and unequivocal in calling out all forms of political violence and making clear it's all wrong." President Trump is currently flying back to the United States after concluding his second state visit to the UK. He spent yesterday and today meeting with King Charles and Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Arguments on whether or not Trump's tariff plan is legal will be heard by the Supreme Court come November. The focus to be on Trump using a law meant for times of emergency to impose these duties without the help of Congress. The High Court has scheduled oral arguments for November 5th after it has agreed to fast-track this case. The Supreme Court is being asked by the Trump administration to lift rulings made by lower courts that block the firing of Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook. This comes a day after Cook was a participant in the Federal Open Market Committee, which cut interest rates by a 1/4 percentage point. In the Justice Department's filing, Solicitor General D. John Sauer said this involves yet another case of improper judicial interference with the president's removal authority.
We'll talk about that with David Katz, obviously, that appeal. And I say appeal, it's not a formal appeal. It's just it's an ask that the president is making to the Supreme Court.
President Trump says the United States is looking to reclaim Bagram Air Base in Afghanistan. Speaking alongside British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Trump said Afghanistan needs things from the United States, and he said they want the base back. U.S. troops left the base in 2021 in what has been a highly criticized withdrawal. An immigration judge ordering the deportation of Mahmoud Khalil to either Algeria or Syria. They're not sure which. It's a pick-a-country situation.
Wow.
Court documents show the judge alleged in a hearing last Friday the former Columbia University grad student omitted information from his green card application. Khalil had been detained by the Trump administration as part of a crackdown on those criticizing Israel's war in Gaza, and that is all it takes for them to deport you. California Governor Gavin Newsom is responding to the Trump administration's position on vaccines. Newsom says Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr. fired every member of the CDC's immunization advisory panel and replaced them with vaccine skeptics. It's a move Governor Newsom says puts Californians' ability to access critical immunizations at risk. He says California is joining Oregon and Washington in establishing new guidelines beginning with a vaccine schedule for the winter virus season. He says the move is grounded in both transparency and in science. So that is what is happening here in California. There's some organ transplant reform. Speaking of Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr., he's looking to reform the nation's organ transplant system, announcing that they are reforming the network and investing in new ways to encourage organ donation. He said the change is coming years after documented patient safety data failures and repeated violations of federal requirements. Transplant experts say there's been a spike in people revoking organ donor registrations due to increased incidence of attempts to remove organs from patients who had been mistakenly declared dead.
Well, I don't know. That's a horror movie, but I would also say that
it really is.
The organ donation system in America is flawed. There is a problem with it, but I don't believe for a second that RFK Jr. is doing anything to address it in any kind of substantive way. I mean, he's so very compromised. I mean, in all the ways that so many in this administration are. I mean, with financial interests of one sort or another, he's a train wreck.
I know we have my one true love, David Katz, on the show in just moments, so I'll wrap it up with this. If you see an Egyptian-looking bracelet, you might want to stop and take a second look. Egyptian authorities are searching for this ancient gold bracelet that disappeared from a museum in Cairo. It was pretty cool. Somebody wanted that one. Egypt's Tourism and Antiquities Ministry says the 3,000-year-old bracelet belonged to a pharaoh, King, we're going to say it right, Amenemope.
Oh, I'm sure that's how they said it.
Yeah, ruled Egypt from 993 to 984 BC. They said it was being restored in a laboratory at this Egyptian museum when the bracelet went missing recently. The ministry says a photo of the bracelet is being sent to airports, seaports, and border crossings across Egypt to keep it from being smuggled out of the country. This report.
I mean, you know what happens if you take that bracelet? What happens?
The beetles will suck all the bodily fluids from you, and
the bad stuff's going to happen to you. It's cursed. Exactly.
The mummy's coming after you. Yeah.
Wait, didn't anybody see The Exorcist?
Go
watch The Exorcist. That's what happens when you take these antiquities. You take these antiquities, you think, I've got something valuable. No, you don't. You have the beginnings of being haunted by the beyond. It's not a good thing.
No, it's like taking lava from Hawaii or,
Thank you.
rocks.
It's just like that.
No, no, no.
Exactly.
This report is sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. You can take that. You got to pay for it, but you got to take it. We'll give you a discount. It's Mark T at checkout. Gets you 10% off the total. Really is the best coffee and tea you will find. They've got the Lion's Mane, both with the Clarity Coffee Blend and the Turmeric Chai Tea Blend, and then just lovely varieties of coffee. The very clear tasting notes will let you know if it is for you or not. And they have tasting notes on the teas too. So good. It is CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. That's the website, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. And again, the code Mark T at checkout.
I will have a quick cup of sip of this cup. I like the sunrise blend. I'm rocking a sunrise blend today, everybody. You got to check it out, CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. Definitely use our discount code, though, Mark T, for 10% off.
Kim McAllister. It is the Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I'm into it. My favorite attorney is on the show. He was a longtime federal prosecutor. Now he's a defense attorney, but he's one of the great legal analysts in the English-speaking world. He's had quite the week. I've seen clips with David Katz on virtually every major network, overseas network. Incredible. He's so generous to come here on Thursdays. He is, as I say, the great attorney and legal mind, David Katz, everyone.
Hi, great to be with you, Mark.
David, congratulations on, I don't know how you got any actual legal work done with you making all these appearances. I mean, everybody's banging down your door to get you on their network. But
I had a lot of work in my legal cases this week, but I had to make time for Geraldo. Come on.
oh yeah, he was on with Geraldo. I thought you were actually, I don't know, I don't want to grade it, but I thought you were both very good, but I thought you were a little bit better than Geraldo. Okay, so here
Geraldo's a good, no, come on. Geraldo's a great talent, and he's he's witty, and he's got a lot of years of doing that, and he has a lot of stage presence. Like you, Mark. Mark.
Yeah, just like me. Thank you very much. Thank you for bringing it back home. All right, first, the news of the day. The removal of Jimmy Kimmel. The mechanisms behind getting rid of him are, I'll just state it very simply, FCC commissioner decries what Jimmy Kimmel said, recharacterizes on some level what Jimmy Kimmel said, because Jimmy Kimmel didn't really do anything in the way of making fun of Charlie Kirk. Instead, Jimmy Kimmel is someone who has constantly made fun of Donald Trump. No secret that Trump hates Kimmel. Finally, you have the FCC commissioner maybe finding a moment that he could leverage to suggest the removal of Kimmel by the Sinclair stations. Sinclair stations, then the Nexstar stations jump on. That's really the way in which ABC, I think, saw, oh my God, we're in trouble here. And then even ABC, that has, as you know, merger approval waiting for the acquisition of NFL Network, et cetera. These things all work, and Nexstar is part of that too. Nexstar wants its own approval from government to acquire even more stations, and both Sinclair and Nexstar want a loosening of the number of stations that these companies can have and have control of and ownership of. So all these things they want from government, and now government's saying, we hate this guy Kimmel. If I were you, I'd get rid of him, I'd drop him, etc. He ends up being suspended immediately. Speak to the legality, though, because the reality of what Kimmel said is that is something that it seems like very much First Amendment protected.
Well, the first thing is that the First Amendment is very much implicated because there was government action. This wasn't just ABC on its own deciding that they didn't like his show or his particular line. This was government intervention, which is the core of First Amendment protection against government action. The government took action. The FCC head, this Brendan Carr, who's handpicked by Trump, it made noise. He made threats either directly to ABC or that got back to ABC that this was something that the government wanted to see done. So I very much sympathize with Jimmy Kimmel in this situation. I think that he's going to get back on the air. That's not a real Katsadamus because I don't know that much about the broadcast industry. But, he does this really big show from Brooklyn, which is very much viewed. I think it's scheduled for a week or two. He makes money for ABC, and that segment that he does in Brooklyn is going to make a lot of money for ABC. And I think that, he'll issue some kind of a statement saying that it was an inartful way to say it, something like that. And I think that this indefinite suspension will end. I don't think he's going to be taken off the air. I think ABC and Disney have more clout than some of the other ones that show this station. But you're absolutely right. It's not a monolithic Disney or ABC. It's these other partners that carry this, the affiliates, as they used to be called. And they broadcast it into various cities, and they said they weren't going to broadcast it. And some of them, yes, they're looking to get approvals for their mergers. Now, you could certainly take the high road and say, if you've got a merger that makes sense, even if the FCC says no, even if the Federal Trade Commission says no, you go to court and you show that it's not anti-competitive and that it ought to be approved. And if you trust the judiciary, then you and your shareholders understand that you have a right to this merger. It makes sense. It's not anti-competitive. And if the FCC or the FTC don't approve it, you go to court with great lawyers and you ask the courts to say that it's not violating the law and should be approved. Of course, the easy way out is to just knuckle under, go to Trump, do exactly what Paramount did. They didn't want to test whether that would fly in court. That lady who sold her share for millions of dollars, billions of dollars, Sherry Redstone, is that it?
Yeah.
Sherry Redstone. So this Sherry Redstone, she lined her pockets. I think she's kind of basically a Nepo baby, right? It was Redstone, the dad, who made all of this money. But she didn't want to test the court. She wanted to take the easy money. And so I think that this is really a scandal, Mark, what's going on right here. Because if he said something that was inartful, the line about the line he said about MAGA, that happens every day. It's not even a news show, Mark. Now, you and I, of course, and Kim, we never say anything inartful or not carefully thought out and landing exactly the way that we want it to. But it happens. It happens in news shows. It happens in comedy shows, for God's sake. And normally what they say is, if I said that thing the other night, I should have made it clearer that so-and-so. That is the most remedy that applies to a situation like that. They issue a little partial retraction and make it clear what the comic point was, and not asserting a factual point that maybe wasn't entirely factual. That things have gotten to this level is nothing but those affiliate stations pandering to the Trump administration, and is an absolute, Trump gave that inaugural speech that he was going to do something to help with free speech. He didn't mean a word of it. All he meant by fostering free speech was to foster the kind of speech that he liked and to punish his enemies who speak in ways that he doesn't like.
I think on the question of whether Kimmel returns, there is significant demand that is being made by some of these parties that have control of these stations. Sinclair, for example, demand of Kimmel to do more than just craft some statement of the sort that you're speaking of. And again, this is sort of out of the legal and more into the practical, but just because we're on it, we'll digress for a second and then we'll get back to the legal. And specifically what they're demanding is that there be a contribution made to Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's political activism entity, and for there to be a formal apology issued to Charlie Kirk and his family. And I'm just wondering if that isn't, when you've said something that's not in the least bit offensive to Charlie Kirk's family. I mean, he was quite, as we posted the tweet, which or X post on social media that Kimmel issued within I think it was the same day that Charlie Kirk was murdered. He posted a very heartfelt thought about the fact that his heart was broken for the Kirk family, for the wife, for the children, how this is a horrible thing, has no place in American society, and political violence is wrong. It was quite wonderful what Kirk got from, the Kirk family got from Jimmy Kimmel. So all I'm trying to say is that Jimmy would then have to somehow apologize for something he didn't do, and then he would make a financial contribution, substantial is what they're demanding, this is from Sinclair, to Kirk's political activism entity. This may be a bridge too far. I mean, again, if that is the cost of doing business, I just don't see Kimmel stepping up that way, but maybe I'm wrong.
He should not issue an apology. I think if I were one of his lawyers or advisors, I'd tell him to not issue an apology. If the money that they want small enough and it's coming from ABC,
that's different. Yeah.
He goes on the air the next day and says, we got shaken down. We got shaken down by some of the best extortionists in the business like Trump. And just keep telling the jokes that he tells. That's what, some people say that maybe Bill Maher has not exactly kept hitting Trump as hard as he used to before he went to that dinner. I don't know why he wanted to have dinner. Mark, I can see why he'd want to have dinner with you or me or, somebody who taught at some university. Why is Trump interesting? Why is anything about that interesting? Why did Bill Maher even go there? But you have to say this for Colbert, since he's been canceled, he's kept it coming. He hasn't been intimidated. He hasn't backed down. And I don't think
he's living on borrowed time for sure.
I don't think.
Sal, the shoemaker says, if I were Jimmy Kimmel, I would just retweet the tweet and say, there's my apology. What I said the day, the day of his murder. This is what I said, and I stand by it. It was a heartfelt post.
He might make that comment that he made a little bit clearer. The way that he made the comment, not that Trump wasn't trying to exploit the terrible killing of Charlie Kirk, not that Trump wasn't trying to exploit it for every little political drop he could try to get out of it instead of just uniting the country.
Well, that's basically what Kimmel said, though. He said it's being exploited for political means. Isn't that what he said?
He sort of suggested that maybe the alleged shooter was part of MAGA. And that was the implication in there. He was raised in a Republican family. He was raised in a Republican family, but I don't think there's really the kind of factual showing that you would like to have For people who would find that offensive and a joke like that too close, there's sometimes too close to the awful event to tell a joke about it. A lot of people, I think, have just refrained from telling any kind of thing. And it was, I'll just say this. I think if Jimmy had it to do over again, because I think he's a master comedian, I think he would have phrased that line a little differently. And I think he should say, I would have phrased that line a little differently, and anyway, that's
I thought, and I just think after the Kirk assassination, there were two sides both trying to lay their narrative over it. And that's what I made this point in the first hour. I mean, after the Kirk assassination, the presumption was, oh my God, it's someone from the left. And the left is swimming away from that. I mean, people on the left just generally, I mean, that's a wide spectrum, I understand. But similarly, when the left found out, oh, he's from a MAGA family. I mean, he was brought up in this family that we find out, was defined by certain kind of MAGA allegiances. The left goes, oh my God, you see, he's MAGA, one of your own. Both were trying to jump on this thing for reasons that were associated with their own narratives. Then we find out that, well, he was a fallen MAGA, meaning he was, he fell out of that family, and he really probably does fall more into the area of left-wing politics, at least as far as LGBTQ and trans rights was concerned. I mean, isn't that a fair characterization of what went on?
Well, first of all, just the foundation. If you're going to tell that joke and you think about it, you sit with your lawyers and your advisors, okay? You should really plumb to the depths of this, especially after it happened with, so close to the time of Charlie Kirk's political assassination. And so I think that, he said in the chat, this fascinating chat. I mean, a screenwriter couldn't have written a more fascinating chat than the one that he had with his roommate, that his roommate turned over. His roommate was cooperative. They asked me with Geraldo whether I thought that the roommate would be prosecuted, and I don't see any basis for the roommate to be prosecuted. He didn't know in advance what was going to happen, and he was cooperative with the authorities, and at least has been reported, he's the one who turned over that chat, which is very incriminating of the suspect. But I think that the suspect said in there, after Trump won, my parents went more MAGA, or they went MAGA, something like that. But that doesn't make it true. That doesn't make it true that he's from a MAGA family. And, the fact that he was raised in a Republican family, it's just a line that could have been, but my God, you go through it with that kind of fine-tooth comb. I mean, he has a right under the First Amendment not to have the government go over his, material with a fine-tooth comb like that and demand that people with the power to do it get him taken off the air. This is a gross violation of the First Amendment because you have government action. And of course, the funny thing about the Trump people is they do all the things out loud. They do the misconduct right out loud. Partly it's that they want you to know that they will commit misconduct. They want you to know that they will do things that break the law and that break norms to try to get you. That's part of the authoritarian intimidation thing. And so they want the world to know. LBJ might have made that secret phone call. You wouldn't have heard about it for 20 years. But you heard about Brendan Carr and all the things that he did as Trump's handpicked FCC chief to get Kimmel, even though it was government action, which is totally unwarranted and inappropriate for something like that.
This is a huge distinction, just to underscore it, that David has made, and I think you've underscored it, which is ABC, Nexstar, Sinclair. You can get rid of Kimmel if you want to. You can be offended by the speech, whatever it is, and you can let your offense around that speech dictate your decision to drop Kimmel. You can do that. You're the company, you're the employer, whatever. But the minute you, the government, do it, now you are in violation of First Amendment freedoms.
Exactly.
So there is Carr and a shot of Carr and Trump together. And by the way, Underdog is right. Jimmy just made a joke about Trump's lack of empathy for Charlie Kirk. Remember, he went right into the discussion of the ballroom, and that became something that that Jimmy focused on as an odd way to characterize your feelings and emotions around the loss of Charlie Kirk, given the fact that's what the question was. How are you dealing with the loss of your friend, Charlie Kirk?
But if I were his lawyer and I had heard what he was going to say before he said all of it, I think the thing that would have been worth talking about was, it's something like the MAGA people will do everything they can to make sure you don't think about the fact that it was one of their own. MAGA people one of their own, that this alleged shooter was one of their own, that he was a MAGA person, that's the one that I would have told him. Better way to, why don't we rephrase that, Jimmy?
The lawsuit that Donald Trump has launched against the New York Times, $15 billion. And these figures, I think, are just picked out of the ether. But
will he take a check? Will he take a check?
He wants to sue the New York Times, is suing the New York Times. And this is a little different than the Wall Street Journal suit. I mean, the Wall Street Journal thing is about the birthday card, the Epstein thing. This is about a book that a lot of these New York Times writers were contributors to. I think it's called Lucky Loser. It describes the Trump ascendance to billionaire status, but it describes really how he was a businessman, gifted all this money from his father, as I understand it. I haven't read the book, but based on everything I've read. And then he squandered it, all these bankruptcies. He really was a poor businessman, to be polite about it. I mean, just abysmal businessman. And then he makes his way into the presidency based on other things. And his image as a great businessman and billionaire is one that was crafted by the NBC apprentice people, Mark Burnett and such. And so the image that one has in the American electorate and just in the zeitgeist itself is that Trump's a successful billionaire, when the reality is he was a loser businessman. That's the essential thing that Trump was offended by and is claiming is incorrect. And the legal filing, and this is something you may want to comment on, is filled with all of these things that ingratiate themselves to Donald Trump. You know, it's all ego. That's you claimed in your book that Mark Burnett was the reason for the success of The Apprentice, and in truth, Donald Trump, was the reason for the success of The Apprentice. I was the host, and I was very much responsible for the success of that show. That's the overview. Tell me about this case.
Well, this case, so far as I can see, is absolutely frivolous. That's a level above frivolous, which means it has absolutely no merit. This is absolutely has no merit. You cannot sue over some opinion thing like that. You have to show, under the New York Times versus Sullivan standard that's been in effect since, I think, 1964 by a large majority of the U.S. Supreme Court, that you have to show either reckless indifference to the truth or knowing falsity. So you would have to show that these reporters knew. One of the things that he says is that you gave credit in your book to Mark Burnett for the success of The Apprentice more than you gave it to me. So you would have to have, I suppose, documents which proved that somehow that was knowingly false, which it seems to me like such a matter of opinion. I don't think they could get to first base. They even talk about that being false. It's an opinion. It's someone's impression. How can you say who is more responsible? I mean, you and I both know, Mark, that someone who thinks of a show with a brilliant idea, you could put almost anybody in there if the idea is brilliant enough. And other shows are made very much by the personality of the host. Who the hell knows which is which? And it's an opinion, and you can see that show and you can say, okay, you think it was more that it was, such a clever thing. You're fired, the whole way it was done, the set and everything else. And this other stuff that he was a bad businessman, I guarantee you they have records that show that. He had 6 or 7 bankruptcies with the casinos that he had in Atlantic City. As people say, how do you lose money with a casino? Unless you're doing something really weird, you wonder, how do you lose money at a casino? And during some of that time, Atlantic City was doing good business. It's not like the cliff. They just fell off a cliff in Atlantic City. Then, of course, there's the Plaza Hotel that wasn't run to make a profit, as I understand what the proof is. Everything else that they've said, from all the allegations, let's not forget all the allegations which were proven in court against him, how he'd inflated the size of his apartment, how he'd lied to those banks, misled those banks. He still has judgments hanging around his head for all that kind of stuff. So to make a long story short, that lawsuit's going nowhere. And the real question is, will the courts allow enough sanctions against a frivolous plaintiff like Trump to really make it not worth their while? So far, they have not landed on Trump with enough sanctions that have actually hit him and that he's had to pay. That this is all great sport for him, because the cost benefit analysis, he comes up with more benefit, especially with his MAGA base, than the cost is to him. And if I think he can hide a lot of his property down there in Florida. I think a lot of it's in trusts. But the idea would be not only what you paid, made the New York Times pay in attorney's fees to defend this frivolous lawsuit, but something to punish the filing of a frivolous lawsuit, which any other plaintiff would get hit with. And it seems like Trump always seems to skate with the courts.
He's ready to take retribution in one way or another against any that blow back on him. It's no wonder. I mean, I think the one thing about the Trump presidency that to me is sort of the defining aspect of it is the way that he's completely cowed every American institution designed to regulate the power of the chief executive. It's amazing. I mean, just look at Congress. I mean, again, this isn't a digression. This is very much on what you're talking about. The fact that no member of his party is ready to push back on him at all. I mean, no one had this. You know the history of Nixon and Reagan. Reagan was incredibly popular. There were people in his party that would push back on Reagan. None of that with Trump. He has completely intimidated everyone. He's got loyalists everywhere, and I include the legal profession. I think what you're talking about, where there might be a judgment that has some punitive aspects to it to discourage these kinds of nuisance suits, they just are afraid of producing a judgment like that.
It's very hard for me to understand. You take someone like Tillis, he's the senator, Republican senator from North Carolina. He's not going to run again. And you take this Joni Ernst, she paraded around and postured as someone who wanted to help women as service members. And then she allowed Hegseth. She gave the okay for Hegseth to become the head of the Department of Defense. So she was shown to be a complete fraud in her supposed concern for women and abuse that they suffered in the military, because it was clear that Hegseth wasn't going to do anything about it, and she supposedly cared about it. She's not running. So you think, why did these two who weren't going to run, why didn't they stand up and the two of them alone could have stopped Hegseth. The two of them alone could have stopped so many terrible policies and personnel choices of the Trump administration, and they didn't. And that's what I don't understand. I don't understand because people think, well, they'd get primaried, they'd never win their seat again. They weren't going to win their seat anyway. Do they think Trump can somehow punish them after they leave office? And what are they afraid of? And somebody ought to try to report, what is it they're afraid of? What if Trump is really holding something over their head? That's a huge story.
I think that they're afraid of what we're talking about in the new America. They're afraid of political violence. They're afraid of the MAGA nation turning back on them in some way. I mean, it is a legitimate concern.
They're not running. And in terms of being protected, those states will protect them. Even if Trump says, well, okay, I'm not giving you any, force that'll help you, any protective force, like he's taken away from former Vice President Kamala Harris out here, like he's taken away from those people who were threatened with death by the Iranian regime, people like Bolton and somebody else threatened with death, and he's taken away their security detail. Believe me, Iowa and North Carolina will give those former Republican senators a security detail so that they're not scared of some Trump, inspired, violence against them. So you wonder, what is it that they're really scared of? I want to talk about one other thing too, if we can, because I think it's really on this topic, and it's Cook, and it's them going around and looking at
that was the next topic anyway, so go for it, please. Yeah.
You go for it. Ask your question.
Well, I mean, the Lisa Cook situation with her being on the Federal Reserve Governor's Board, she is someone who Trump has targeted. He wanted to get rid of her. He tried to fire her. She pushed back on that rightly. It's not within his power to fire her. And Trump has now done the end around, gone right to his concierge Supreme Court and says, hey, I want to get rid of her, and I want you to say it's okay.
Katsadamas, they will leave her on the Federal Reserve governor, I think, for now. I don't think the U.S. Supreme Court is going to, there's an order right now from the appellate court that she can continue to hold that post. And until they decide on the merits, it reaches the U.S. Supreme Court on the merits, I think that they will duck this one. And I think that they're right to duck this one. We talked about it the other day. It's not their job to go all around the country and decide whether every appellate decision in America looks like it's right or wrong and make a prediction how it'll come out without full briefing and an argument. And on the emergency docket, grant a stay, not grant a stay, grant a stay, not grant a stay. And I think in this one, I think there are several reasons why the U.S. Supreme Court will steer clear of this one. One of them is that there is some due process that's entitled. My God, these people who are being deported out of the United States are entitled to some due process. A Federal Reserve Board governor is entitled to some due process before she's removed. So they say there are these allegations that are fished up by this Pulte guy, this Bill Pulte guy in the administration, a fellow Nepo baby, Nepo billionaire heir like Trump, this Bill Pulte guy. Anyway, he's fished up these supposed allegations. There's no due process at all. She hasn't had a chance to respond. She hasn't had a right to have any kind of hearing. The idea that the U.S. Supreme Court is going to reverse the appellate court and grant, an emergency order that she be removed. Secondly, it sort of doesn't make any kind of sense. There were, I think, 11 votes to raise the, 11, whatever number there were. Everybody voted just now to lower the interest rates by 1/4 percentage point, 25 basis points. Everyone did except the guy that Trump just put on there with the Senate's concurrence, who wanted to go 50 basis points, which is rash given the state of the economy. Everybody voted the way she did, except somebody voted. So it's not going to have any real impact. Maybe Trump won't push it that hard. Maybe, he's already made the motion.
I think he has some. There's a lot of ego involved with it as well. But you bring up a great point, which is, what's your axe to grind with her? She went along with the whole crew. I don't. It's a bit.
The scary thing is that she's a black woman, and there are some people that Trump and his base just love the optics of him fighting. It's one black woman after another, and it's not just a coincidence. Anyone who thinks it's just a coincidence that he's always picking these fights where he can be on the TV screen along with a black successful woman. It's certainly not missed by African American people, and it shouldn't be missed by our viewers and listeners. So the other thing that's so peculiar about this case is that she's not guilty. If she ever does get due process, she's not guilty. The records that have come out show that the bank knew. So she buys a house.
Yeah, just set the table, because she claimed 2 residences as her primary residences.
She buys a house. I think it goes like this in Michigan, and she says that that's her primary residence. They claim that she then buys a vacation home in Georgia and leads the bank to believe that it's going to be her primary residence. So they'll give her a slightly better interest rate than they would have if she'd have said it was her vacation residence, that it was not a primary residence. Come to find out that the bank knew it was a vacation home, that the bank put in the bank records in considering her loan to get the vacation home. The bank, not her, the bank wrote down this was a case of someone seeking financing for a vacation home. So, and the one with Adam Schiff is also a completely ridiculous case that he's just not guilty of. He's not chargeable with it. There's no probable cause for it as to him. And as to her, a jury would acquit both these people in a second. And you wonder,
when you say the one with Adam Schiff, it's the same deal. They're going after, it's the mortgage thing. It's kind of what you're talking about.
And this idea that you can go through because you have a job in the administration, you're the head of Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or both of them, which is what.
Yeah, so you have all this access to mortgage information. Exactly.
All this access to mortgage information. What is so stunning, Mark, and this is the same point that we talked about with Tillis and Ernst, and nobody standing up to Trump from the Republican Party. You would think that somebody would go to him and say, look, they can do this to us. There is no reason why, when the Democrats get back into power, and not Congress, all they need is the president. The Democrats get back into power with the president. He appoints somebody to the head of this. You can say, okay, he needs 50 votes, but you wouldn't necessarily know that this guy was coming and that he was going to do the exact same thing that the Republicans had just made precedent to do. And he would go through every senator and every Congress member and every Republican executive official, and he would look at the loan file of every single one of them. And he would pick the ones that had some discrepancy in them, and then he would make them public. This Bill Pulte guy has made public statements. Why he hasn't been sued for libel and slander yet. Maybe he will be tomorrow. He's made public statements. That is not how we used to do it in law enforcement, and how for decades they've done it in law enforcement. Until somebody's indicted, you tend to make no public statement whatsoever. That you make a public statement on the basis of a referral from your agency to the Department of Justice, a referral that maybe they should look at this case. And he's gone on all this media and portrayed her as basically a crook. It's beyond belief. So you wonder why the Republicans didn't go to Trump and say, look, We don't want to get primaried. We want you to succeed. Let us explain to you how to proceed, how to succeed. Don't go after Cook and Adam Schiff, because there's not only no they're there, but you're making a precedent that they can do the same thing back to us. So since they started talking about this, even with the Republicans in power, somebody has looked at this Bill Pulte guy and his family. I'm not making this up. It turns out that his mom and dad have been under investigation for the same thing. That seems to be why it's so foremost in Bill Pulte's mind, because his own parents have gotten in trouble for this. And they've said they have, the reason that you would say you had two primary residents is you get a lower tax rate. And it looks like that's exactly what they've done between Florida and Michigan. And when they went into Florida, they seem to be getting a much higher rate. That means they pay lower taxes too. That means the local schools that stink down in Florida, the local public schools. This is another way for these very, very rich people, the Pulte family, not to contribute their fair share to fund the schools and to fund other things, because they have allegedly misrepresented that these are primary residents to get lower interest rates when they're in fact vacation homes in Florida that these multimillionaires own. And there's actually been not only investigation started, but I think that we actually changed. The people also, they also do other tricks, but the one that she did not do, which is a normal trick in these situations, is they then get a homestead exemption. They say, this is my home. When Cook, the Federal Reserve governor, the one who's under attack by Trump and Pulte, when she went to Georgia, she did, with her vacation home, she did not try to get a homestead exemption, which means that she treated it in a way that cost her more money,
sure,
but that was inconsistent with her having done any kind of trick or scam. She's clean like Adam Schiff. That is what is so outrageous. And the idea that the U.S. Supreme Court is really going to wade into this when there's been no due process, no hearing. So Katsadamas predicts that
they'll just push it back.
That the U.S. Supreme Court will duck this one on the emergency docket, and they will not remove her from the Federal Reserve Board. And if they do, they will have accomplished nothing for Trump's agenda, and they will have shown themselves to be really just a craven puppet. The U.S. Supreme Court with life tenure, one of our most revered institutions, just a craven little puppet for Trump. I don't think they want to do that.
Well, they may do it in other ways.
They may do it in other ways.
First, I would say that the idea somehow that you could just move forward with high-profile allegations of one sort or another, investigation of one sort or another, it's very Trumpian. It's very much what they do. They say we're going to, even when it came to overturning the 2020 election, remember the plan was at the Justice Department, you don't have to actually find anything wrong with the election. Just say that there have been irregularities and that we're looking into it. And that's all we need. We'll do the rest. And so it is with this situation with these mortgages. You know, he digs up this on Schiff. He digs up this on someone else. In the case of Cook, he makes these claims that, as you suggest, have no basis in underpinnings that are legit. And somehow, though, that carries the news cycle and it begins to get a momentum. It's a pretty ugly way to do business. I mean, it's not a legal way to do business. As you say, there's been no legal demonstration of any kind, and yet that's what they do. On the SCOTUS...
One last thing. One reason it's so over the top, though, is because the Republicans are just assume that the Democrats would never do this back to them because we're fair, we follow the rule of law and stuff like that. But, you know, when they make a precedent for something like this, what is the evil of doing this? And you find you don't do all the things that they've done, but what is the evil of this? If someone has really, like, let's say Pulte's parents really have violated the law on this, they're apparently being investigated for it. So the idea that, well, the Democrats can never do this, and maybe some sitting senator, oh my God, it's retaliation, they'll say when a Democratic president's in there. Now they're going after me for saying that I have 3 different primary residences. They're just going after me. It's all retaliation. The Republican senators say, no, once you make a precedent for something, that's how our system works. It becomes a precedent. It's like, you guys did it. If it was so bad, you should have not done it. Now you're going to run right around and say it's so bad. And you see the Republicans doing that over and over again with things that they said were terrible when Biden and the Democrats were doing them. And now it's just, you know, the order of the day.
Well, I mean, and then you know, see Jimmy Kimmel and the assault on Jimmy
Can
Kimmel.
you imagine if they'd done this to Fox? Can you imagine if they'd done this? You think there's never been an accuracy on Fox in the 4 years of Biden?
Brian Kilmeade last week said that they should euthanize the homeless people. He subsequently apologized for it, but he said it on the air. There wasn't this hue and cry about that. I mean, it just
he's still working. He's still working, but getting a big paycheck.
Yeah. I want to get to another Katsadamas thing because I kind of promised it. And then I will wrap up maybe with some Rudy Giuliani news because there was just a judgment against Rudy Giuliani. But the Katsadamas thing is about the tariffs. The more I think about it and the more I see the SCOTUS flex, or I'm sorry, the Trumpian flex around tariffs and sort of the territorial nature of it, meaning he's really claimed it as a cornerstone of what he's doing. He's falsely claiming that there's all this revenue coming into the country. He says trillions of dollars in revenue as a result of the tariffs is coming. And then he even said, I mean trillions with a T. And it's absurd. I mean, it's 150 billion, and that's to be generous thus far with the tariffs this year. But my point in mentioning it is he's really wedded to it, right? He has both arms firmly around the tariffs. It's going to go to SCOTUS, right? They're going to pick it up quickly. You said, Katsadamas has said, they will not, as you were kind of just saying, humiliate themselves as total toadies for Trump and somehow rubber stamp these tariffs. Instead, they're going to rule that the tariffs were indeed imposed illegally. There's no emergency that's existed beyond what the country's already dealing with year to year in terms of drug influx, etc. The more I see the news day to day, and maybe this is the power of becoming downcast about everything I see happening and sort of unchecked by this administration, the more I see that SCOTUS actually could just let him do it. You really are. I really want to have this conversation, at least an abbreviated version of it, one more time, because I see SCOTUS as really an instrument of Donald Trump, and in that way, they will approve his tariffs.
Well, I think the only way that they could get there, 5 or 6 of them, to affirm the tariffs is to say that there was an opportunity for Congress to stop the tariffs. And by Congress not acting to stop the tariffs, they don't have to do things explicitly. Congress can do things implicitly. And since there was 30 or 60 days for Congress to disavow the tariffs, and they did not act, either house, within that time, that institutions can do things by inaction as well as action. And they could. That's remarkable, though. That really is. If Congress can start to do things by inaction, in the opinion of the court, we are really heading toward authoritarianism. We're really heading toward where the houses of Congress are like they are in so many third world countries. They're beautifully formed, beautifully written, and completely ineffective. Congress has to at least act. It's their job to set tariffs, and to say that they have set tariffs or approved tariffs by not acting at all. They didn't even pass a resolution that said we're in agreement with the tariffs. They simply failed to act. So unless they say that, I think that they have to come out to the conclusion that the tariffs are illegal. And the reason I say that tariffs are illegal is they're only legal if they're done under this emergency power. And the emergency power exists if there's truly something emergent, Mark. And the only two things that have been mentioned is that a lot of fentanyl was coming into the country. And actually less fentanyl has come in since he imposed the tariffs. So you have him imposing the tariffs because there's an emergency with drugs, and yet the drugs are still very high, very intolerably high, but they've gone down. How can you have an emergency about them going up when they're actually going down? And the second thing is, he said we have a trade imbalance, and we've had a trade imbalance for decades. It cannot be. It didn't even like the trade imbalance suddenly went to hell. It wasn't like an OPEC shock or something like that. We have a trade imbalance. We're just always sliding into greater imbalance and owing more money and having less exports than we do have imports. That's America the last few decades. None of it's an emergency. So there has been no emergency. And given that there's no emergency, he does not have the power to act. So that's why I'm saying they have to say that there was ratification by inaction by both houses.
Kind of a tacit approval of it. But let me ask you then.
But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, you have 3 votes on SCOTUS that are wired, right, already?
You can Gorsuch wired. It's either 7-2 or 6.
I would say. Well, I'd say Kavanaugh's wired. Maybe say. I'd say Barrett. I'd say. Am I wrong? I mean, I would think Thomas and Alito are wired, right? And I would say
maybe Gorsuch. I think it's 6-3 to strike down the tariffs. And then you have this issue, Mark. Everyone says, well, the fact that they're sort of in the tank. I mean, they're in the tank for Trump. You can say that, but that doesn't mean they're going to vote for birthright citizenship. That is a bridge too far, and this tariffs emergency when there's not an emergency is a bridge too far. Then they have to give, I understand they have to give the money back, but people have kept such good records. It's going to be very clear. And a lot of it can be done with credits. And the companies that went under, if they can make a sufficient showing, they can still afford a lawyer. They'll try to go to court and say, with the tariffs, we would have made it, pay us this much money back. There'll be a lot of litigation, but, we have courts of claims. There's all these courts that handle these kinds of things, claims against the federal government. And yeah, there'll be double the amount that there usually are. When they had when they shut the government down, which may be in our future too, soon, but when they shut the government down years ago, a lot of federal workers walked off the job. They couldn't work anymore if they weren't getting paid. And those people, sometimes they got paid. They had huge amounts of cases in the courts of claims. So the importers will have a lot of cases in the courts of claims, and they'll eventually get credits. They'll get their money back. That is not the U.S. Supreme Court's worry, that there'll be a lot more cases in the court of claims, and those will get adjudicated by the by.
Well, we'll see. I certainly hope you're right. I mean, I'd love to see them some check on these impulsive decisions that really aren't underpinned by any kind of even reasonable logic. Rudy Giuliani being ordered to pay over $1 million
to his lawyers,
to his lawyer, his former defense team. A New York judge ruling that Giuliani must pay $1.36 million plus interest. Excuse me, I have to cough. In unpaid legal bills to David Hutcher and Strichen partner Robert Costello. Costello represented the ex-New York mayor as he faced investigations over his dealings in Ukraine and worked for President Trump following the 2020 election. Giuliani contending he never agreed to pay the fees and didn't receive the bills, but the judge rejected those arguments, and Rudy has to come up with $1,000,306. Just put it on my tab, Judge. Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things where this guy has so many judgments against him. I mean, the big ones are, associated with what he did to those poor poll workers,
I think he settled with the poll workers, and these attorneys apparently did a very good job on various matters. And, Giuliani had 1 million cases he was in trouble for. These lawyers, I think, went through and they solved a lot of those problems, including they solved the problem that came to some resolution, some disposition, I think, with those 2 poll workers who were treated so terribly by Giuliani and really by the Trump rhetoric too. I mean, what Giuliani didn't just unleash all that rhetoric without any consultation with with Trump and his followers. But anyway, so then it's funny because I'm a criminal defense attorney, and I charge fees, and generally we charge fees up front. There's sort of this feeling.
I was just about to say, get the money up front.
This may not be, this may not be a receivable that's going to be, received down the road. So you try to get the money up front. There are ways that you bill clients as you go along. So Giuliani apparently paid about $250,000 to his attorneys. One of them, I think, is a fellow alum of the U.S. Attorney's Office. I think that Costello worked for Giuliani in the U.S. Attorney's Office. I think Giuliani's view is kind of like, well, he did it out of camaraderie. He did it out of, he's trying to help me out. He was really going to send me a bill, because his defense in front of the judge was, I never got an invoice. He was going to send me a bill. And then, of course, they showed that he did get an invoice. He'd written on one of the checks that he did pay to the lawyer, like payment on third invoice. Meanwhile, he says there was no invoice. He's written on the memo portion of the check to the lawyer, payment on third invoice. I got no invoices. The judge, it was interesting, was this Engoron. This was Arthur Engoron. He's the same one. So apparently one of Rudy's arguments on appeal is going to be that he's biased against him.
He's the one who's out to get me. They're all out to get me.
That judge shouldn't have sat on that case because he's biased against Giuliani. He's biased against Trump. This was in fight. This had nothing to do with Trump or Giuliani against the world. This was Giuliani and his own defense lawyers that he stiffed. And now the judge told him, no, like everyone else in America, you have to pay your bill. Whether they can really collect $1 million. These guys all go down to Florida and they try to be judgment-proof. OJ went to Florida. This one went to Florida. That one went to Florida. And it's supposed to be a very judgment-proof state. That may be one reason why they don't collect more money from Trump after Trump loses those lawsuits. I don't know if there are exceptions under the law, but it was famous. It was famous as a scoundrel's refuge because you don't have to pay your bills. welcome to Florida. You don't have to pay your creditors.
Hey, advertise what you can. Finally, I just wanted to mention that the Federal Appeals Court yesterday refusing, for now anyway, to allow the Trump administration to proceed with this overhaul of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. That would reorganize a lot of agencies. They fire thousands of employees under this plan. It was a 3-judge panel in the First U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Boston, and they wouldn't lift the federal judge's injunction that was secured by several Democratic-led states. That again, they're challenging this plan from RFK Jr. to carry out this large-scale reorganization of the department. So there are, I guess, some challenges to the planned reimagining of government and health and human services.
A friend of mine wrote, "This country is going to hell in a handbasket. Thank God for the courts." And you do have to say, the framers were onto something. Give people of high intelligence and high merit a lifetime appointment, have them swear an oath to the Constitution. And certainly the courts have held. I know there's some exceptions with the U.S. Supreme Court and some of the Trump-appointed judges around the country.
Only with the U.S. Supreme Court. Right.
It's not just the U.S. Supreme Court.
What's that going to possibly matter? Right.
This guy Katz, the guy with the name so close to me, Katz is like, I think he's voted for Trump every single time, but he's not on the Supreme Court. He's not voting on tariffs on the U.S. Supreme Court, Mark. Oh. So the courts have held, and I think that a lot of people have, a lot of people have. Trump is very unpopular. That's the reality. He's got a pomp and circumstance over there in the United Kingdom, and of course they hate him over there. They have to live with him, though. He has power right now. I mean, we've had rulers in the world when someone really has power. We've gotten used to it in America. We have checks and balances. Things don't swing that far left or right. This is what a lot of the world experiences. Some strong man is in power, and holy Toledo, right?
Well, it's not just, and he's not just some strong man. He's running the most powerful nation on earth.
Too.
He has Great Britain over a barrel. I mean, I got a few emails saying, how come, the British are meeting with this guy? I don't understand it. They're legitimizing it. They need him. Are you kidding? They need, I mean, Britain, we did a whole half hour on it yesterday about the situation with the British economy, and America represents a real opportunity for them. So yeah, they've got to play ball. And so that's why they roll out, every red carpet in the land for him. Yeah.
Well, after Brexit, they made that huge error with Brexit.
Exactly. It's because of Brexit.
Still paying for that.
All right. So to summarize, you and I disagree on the SCOTUS ruling on tariffs. You're sticking with your Katsadamas view that they will rebuff it. I think they will find a way to approve it. I think it's a sad state that America and the American institutions have pretty much been cowed. You still, though, are an optimist, and you feel as though the courts particularly are ruling the right way, and they may ultimately win the day, the rule of law. That's what I would expect a good attorney to say, and I hope you're right. I really hope you're right.
So we're disagreeing without being disagreeable.
Exactly.
And I loved your remark last week, Mark, when you said it might have been just right after I got off the air, but I was listening for a while because I still have my link. And you said, look, I look around every day and I say, how can this be? How can Donald Trump be the president of the United States? But he is. We have to endure it for 3 more years. And I think our institutions, some of them are enduring it as best they can. UCLA just sued President Trump and the administration. They want to take over $1 billion chunk out of UCLA. And I want to, my bias in this is that, I'm in the UCLA health plan, and they've done wonderful things for me, over the years, in their hospital. They're fantastic. Yeah. And the idea that they're going to get cut over $1 billion. So I've decided to forgive them for screwing up the Pac-12. I have decided to forgive them for that.
All right, do your thing,
Mark,
David Katz.
Turn my phone off.
We'll watch you and you're across the spectrum on all of those different outlets, and hope for better days ahead. But one way or another, we'll talk to you next Thursday. Appreciate it, man.
Great to be with you. Hi, Kim.
Yeah, Kim. A quick hi to David Katz and David Katz, everybody. Bye, David. Thank you so much.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I am well aware. I'm well aware of where we are. I do want to say that that well, I'm just looking. I really want to play you a little bit of what's happening with the CDC. I alluded to it before. I never want to cut David Katz short, and I never want to cut anything short if I don't have to. But I wanted you to see this testimony. And this again is the CDC director who was ousted. Okay, and the RFK Jr. ousting was so weird because he talked about her as someone with impeccable credentials, and there were really there were no issues between RFK Jr. and the CDC head, but quickly it became clear that she was not going to rubber stamp the demands of RFK Jr., and the demands were significant. And so Susan Monterez is her name, and she was not going to change these routine child vaccine recommendations without any credible scientific data. But she really sounds the alarm as to what's going on at the CDC, and I didn't want to leave you today without letting you see a little bit of it. This is a bit of her testimony yesterday. Susan Monterez.
I believe preventable diseases will return, and I believe that we will have our children harmed for things that we know they do not need to be harmed by. Polio, measles, diphtheria, whooping cough.
The stakes laid bare by fired CDC Director Dr. Susan Monterez over the future of the nation's vaccine policy. In August, 29 days after he called her scientific credentials unimpeachable, Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. dismissed his handpicked Senate-confirmed choice over vaccines.
He just wanted blanket approval.
Okay.
And if I could not commit to approval of each and every one of the recommendations that would be forthcoming, I needed to resign.
Monterez told the Senate committee she refused to pre-approve the decisions of a vaccine advisory panel without science or data. Several new members of that committee, selected by Kennedy, share his vaccine skepticism.
I was fired for holding the line on scientific integrity, but that line does not disappear with me.
2 weeks ago, Kennedy told another Senate committee Monterez lied about her firing.
Could you tell the head of the CDC that if she refused to sign off on your changes to the childhood vaccine schedule, that she had to resign?
No, I told her that she had to resign because I asked her, are you a trustworthy person? And she said no.
Monterez also said Kennedy disparaged the nation's top health agency.
He called CDC the most corrupt federal agency in the world, emphasized that CD employees were horrible people. He said that CDC employees were killing children and they don't care. He said during the COVID outbreak, CDC told hospitals to turn away sick COVID patients until they had blue lips before allowing them to get treatment.
Monterez said Kennedy's assertions are not true. Some committee Republicans zeroed in on the COVID vaccine.
Does the COVID vaccine reduce hospitalization for children under 18?
It can.
It doesn't.
Doctor and committee chairman Bill Cassidy wants to hear from Kennedy himself.
I think Secretary Kennedy has to come and address this specifically.
All right, and with that, Ann joins us now. Ann, there's been a lot of talk, too, about a meeting that's happening about the vaccine advisory panel. What are they discussing?
Tom, Monterez said she's nervous about that meeting that'll take place tomorrow. She said RFK Jr. told her in August the childhood vaccine schedule would change this month. On the agenda tomorrow, the measles, mumps, rubella, and chickenpox vaccine, as well as the hepatitis B shot. Tom?
These are so fundamental. I mean, it's just really scary territory for the nation's health.
They're going to kill people. They're going to kill people. They're squishing the Constitution. They're taking away free speech, and they're killing people. Way to end it on an uplifting note, Kim.
Yeah, it's a pretty. No, it's pretty grim. I mean,
Someone did this to spoil our Christmas.
All right. Yeah, definitely. Merry Christmas, everybody. Anyway, I wanted you to see a bit of that. Definitely something to watch, and we'll continue to share more as it's appropriate. You guys have been really great today. We've had a really great day.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I mean, when I say a great day, you've lifted us a little bit, and so it really means a lot when you elevate us and support us. Then we're able to bring you more, and we get excited about bringing you more, and we feel as though we're providing a service that's appreciated, and we hope we can do it for a while. I mean, again, we're subject to the same pressures that a lot of other media platforms are subject to. So we'll see. Patricia in San Mateo County with a $5 super chat. A fan since KGO. Thank you to all, and we will not stay silent. Thank you, Patricia in San Mateo County. They're in the Bay Area. Love my Bay Area. Surf and Tumbleweed with a $10 super chat says, not to change the subject, but can we get an update on Foosh? And what are your thoughts on Bellio's perm? This is a KFI question. KFI is a huge talk radio station in Los Angeles. Foosh was horribly, in a horrible car accident, horribly injured. My thoughts on him and the update on him is that things are improving, that he is getting better. And we love him and would love to see him back at work. It was terrific. They did a GoFundMe for him, and there's been tremendous outpouring of support for him. And his name is Stefan, and we called him Stefoosh, and then it got shortened to Foosh. That's how you get the derivation of the name. And Bellio's perm I haven't seen yet. I'm going in to KFI tomorrow. Love from the UK. I love my United Kingdom residents. I am a Bilberry muffin. Thank you for a couple of British sterling, my friend. And a big shout out to everybody to acknowledge your generosity here on this very stressful day. Make an offshore pirate radio station, Mark. Resurrect KGO. Yeah, let's...
What?
I don't know. It's a wild idea.
Ooh, it's a wild idea, but it just might work.
Susan Roberts with a $10 super chat. I ditto everyone. Love your show, Mark, along with Kim, Albert, Tony, and the chatters. Thank you for bringing us the news every day, and please keep up the good work. Thank you so much, Susan.
Thank you so much.
I love that. Thank you, Susan. Very generous of you, the $10 super chat. Leslie Profiter is, and it's profit like Propheter, not IT. So like the prophet who will foretell the future. $5 super chat anyway.
Big shout out.
Big shout out. Thank you. Sally in Cali. Are you kidding me? A $100 super chat. Please keep doing what you are doing. This is also from my hubby, Manuel Martinez. Also a fan.
Nice.
2 fans and $100.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
I'm not going to cry, but I'm just saying.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
Debbie with a $9.99 contribution, and she says this in the super chat. Maybe old news, but I heard Rachel Maddow, Joy Reid, and Stephen Colbert are teaming up to produce something which should be awesome. If Jimmy Kimmel joins up, it would be amazing. Yeah, indeed, it would be. I didn't know that. I'll say something that, quickly on that, though. You know, Jimmy shouldn't have to team up with anybody else and do something else. He shouldn't have to. Jimmy is a brilliant talent, brilliant in so many ways beyond just doing the talk show in late night. I mean, he's producing sitcoms, and he's producing other stuff that, feature films. Jimmy is wonderfully talented and gifted, and also obviously a gifted communicator. But I mean, I'd love to see him in anything, but he shouldn't have to find another project with Joy Reid and whomever else, Rachel and Stephen. But if he wants to do it, cool. I mean, you can tell I'm on Team Jimmy from the standpoint of just mad respect for his talent and ability. Angel in the Bay Area with a $10 super chat. Love this show, and we love you back.
Big shout out.
Big shout out. Thank you, Angel in the Bay Area. Janet R., are you kidding?
Yeah.
Here it is. Here is to fighting the good fight, Janet R. says, with a $100 super chat. Keep it up, Mark Thompson Show crew. I'm going to add a little bit more via PayPal. Wow.
I'm not gonna cry. I'm not gonna cry.
Really nice.
$100 is so generous, and it really does help. Thank you so much, Janet R. I appreciate it. Your show is so important to Eileen and me. Lee Kopp, who is an OG on the show.
Big shout out.
Big shout out to Lee and Eileen. They are original from the old radio station. Maybe Mark and Kimmel can do a show. I don't think that's going to happen.
Big shout
That
out.
would be great.
I love Jimmy. I'd love to just have lunch with Jimmy. I think he's that great. I'd like to just bathe in his aura. Stan Pollock, CPA, my favorite CPA. I came in late today, but here's a little something to help if you get demonetized. Thank you, Stan Pollock.
Yeah.
Big shout out
shout
to
out.
you. Yeah, if you need a CPA, how about that, Stan Pollock?
Thank you so much.
Vilma, who is an original gangsta. She's an OG on this show. Thank you for sticking up for free speech. I love Jimmy Kimmel and your program. You and Kim speak up for our freedoms every single day. Thank you, Vilma. I don't think there's any reason for you to include Kim, but all right, you did.
Big
I'll give you a
shout
big
out.
shout out.
You
Anyway,
know.
I am, all I'm saying is,
What?
I'm just saying I loved the comment until I had to share the glory with Kim.
What?
All right, thank you. We need the Mark Thompson Show and all you remarkable, says Jane O. $20 super chat. Thank you, Jane O. Appreciate you. See you in the chat all the time and appreciate you. Harry Magna with a $5 super chat. Here is to a shot of Maker's Mark for your Coachella Valley coffee at the Red Jack. The Red Jack is a great spot in San Francisco. If you go there, check it out. They are supporters of our show from the beginning, and Harry is clearly one of their best customers. Mario Diaz, a $20 super chat, chipping in to support my favorite show. What's up, Mario? Thank you.
Welcome.
Cheers, Mario. I'll give you a little Coachella Valley coffee sip.
Oh my goodness, there's so much support today. You know, we need to make the decision to demonetize more often. Because we made the choice to show the Jimmy Kimmel clip, and we knew what it meant.
Yeah, we knew we were going to be demonetized, so I mentioned it in the first hour, and the crew just came out of the woodwork to support us.
Here's to free speech.
Dale McLean. Come on, Dale, $50 super chat
Big
and
shout out.
super sticker, I should say. And Dale, I think, is new. Like, I don't know that name. I don't recognize it. And so
Welcome.
Super appreciate you, Dale, and all the newcomers to the show. Really means a lot. All of you who support us. Don't give up the fight. $10 super chat from More 1500. Love it. We're a Wink 9S, $10 super sticker. Man,
Big shout out.
shout out to you. Scott Rittenberg, who is he's an OG for the RV. I mean, mobile Mark Thompson show. So this is he says he wants an RV where we do the show and we go to various places in the RV, which would be a great thing to do.
We might have to elude capture from the speech police.
Dude.
Just
I mean,
have
it's
it,
not,
get in the
I know
RV
you're
and
kidding,
let's do it
but
on the
it's not.
run.
Yeah.
No,
For the
I know.
RV, I mean, the mobile Mark Thompson Show fund. Instead of Max Headroom, you could be Mark the roving ranter, taking the show to all of the blue sleeper cells in the USA. Sorry if I gave away the plan.
Why are you yelling?
It's a wild
idea, but it just might work.
Frank Goldschmidt with a $20 super chat. Big follower and trying to pass your show along to people who don't know about it. That is so helpful. You know, if you see a conversation that you think you can share, maybe it's David K. Johnston, maybe it's Anthony Davis from yesterday or David Katz from today, share it. Share it on Facebook, share it wherever you are, and hopefully that word gets out and helps grow the footprint of the show. Richard Delamater, Mr. Cheapo, gives another $2. Property tax are coming. Yeah, that's good. That's all right. We love you, Richard, for all the ways you contribute. Shaylin Thompson. Big shout out to Richard and Shaylin Thompson. Shaylin Thompson with a 10 spot as a super sticker, and a super sticker from Susan W. $50. Wow.
I'm not gonna cry.
You guys are unreal today. Denise Cat with a $20 super sticker. Thank you, Denise. Appreciate you. Along with Marion Dean with a $5 super chat. Appreciate you. Thank you for standing up for free speech, Marion says. I mean, it's just one of those things that seems so self-evident. It's one of the great things about this country, and yet it's very much under threat, might understate it. Stella Luna with a $20 super sticker. Thank you, Stella. Love your avatar with the cat. Amy P with a $10 super chat, helping to fund the show today. Thank you, Amy. And thank you, James, a $20 super sticker. Wow. James Bliss. What a cool last name. Bliss. Noe Marie, how about you? A $10 super sticker. Thank you, Noe. Old colleague from KGO. And Carla Morris with a $50 super sticker. Guys, I'm not going to cry.
I'm not gonna cry.
I'm about to.
It's close to cry territory. I'm a big crier, so try to choke it back. But Becky E., don't know what I'd do without this daily platform. We need you now more than ever. Thanks, team. A $20 super chat.
Makes
Thank you so much. Yeah.
All the yelling worth it, Becky. Thanks for the comment.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Thank you so much, Becky, and all of you, your kindness. Louis says, here's a contribution to the resistance. F you, Fat Vader. Shout out to my sports rival, but brother in arms, Albert, for his thoughtful insights on the U.S. becoming the Philippines. NIN tonight.
9 Inch Nails.
Can't wait. Wow. Albert, are you a 9 Inch Nails fan?
I can't say that I am, but I am.
But
I am a
you-
Giants fan, and Luis is a Dodgers fan. Nice for us to agree on something.
Yeah, it is nice, and that's a great lesson for all of us, isn't it? Neil with the Neil Yumura with a $5 super sticker. Thank you. And thank you, Luis, as well, for that comment.
Yeah.
Carl D'Angelo with a $20 super sticker. Wow, guys. Thank you so much. In fact, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
So much.
Wow. Just unreal. Well, we probably made up for what we would have lost in demonetization today. Tomorrow, we have a big show. It is, of course, it has Michael Shore and Jim Avila, two great political minds that'll kind of maybe deconstruct or help analyze this moment in history. But we also have a doctor on tomorrow, I think, in the first half hour. I've got to check. Isn't that right, Kim? I believe so. And we'll talk a little bit of what's happening at the HHS and CDC. Of course, Albert has curated a perfect Florida segment, Friday Fabulous Florida. And I might add that the Culture Blaster cruises through on Friday. So movies and streaming and entertainment that way. Somebody sent me an email about a film that they wanted Michael to review, so I did push that onto him. We'll see how he does with that. Thanks, everybody, for the love today. Appreciate the support, and until tomorrow.
I'm Shadow Stevens for The Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Kim's doing the after party now.
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Out of time. Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Albert. Thank you, Kim. Bye-bye.
Thank you.